Welcome to Inside Farm Life, your weekly connection to agriculture newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, educational features, and the best in true country music. Now, here's your host, Brent Adams.
Welcome to Inside Farm Life Live, presented today by the all-new FarmLifeMedia.com. It's great to have you with us. On this episode, we kick off Veterans Day week with a U.S. Army veteran who's gone on to do big things in country music. She's a singer-songwriter from Louisiana who just released some new music we can't wait to share with you. But first, Brei Carter, welcome into Inside Farm Life Live.
Thank you so much, Brent. It's so good to be here. Thank you.
How have you been?
I've been great. Really have been looking forward to being on your show and kind of talking to the fans about everything that's going on.
Well, we want to thank you first off for your service in the United States Army, where you served as both an enlisted a soldier and an officer. And to start out the program, I'd like to talk a bit about that. What compelled you, first of all, to enlist in the Army, and what did service look like for you?
Okay, definitely. Great question. Actually, I come from a long history of military people in my family, from my grandfather on both sides. I have uncles that were served in the military, like all branches from the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force. So across the board. And actually one day I had a couple of female cousins that were actually going to join the Army Reserves, and they called me up, both of them. And the ironic thing is that it was a cousin on my mother's side and also a cousin on my father's side. They're like, hey, we have this great opportunity. We're going to be all that we can be and join the military. And they're like, you should think about joining. And I think at that point in my life, I needed to do something a little different. I was in college and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm ready to be all that I can be, maybe a little bit of adventure. So I joined with both of them. And actually unfortunately, all three of us didn't go to boot camp together, but me and one of the other cousins did. But I found it to be really ironic because they had planned to go in together in the buddy system, but they just didn't get a chance to go in together. I went in with one of them instead.
So what did you take away from your whole time in the military?
It just taught me so much, just a little bit more about honor, the country, men and women that have served before me and that have laid down their lives, so we could have the freedoms that we have. But it also taught me discipline. And I just loved all the camaraderie, and it was just for a greater good, for a purpose of serving our country and taking care of all Americans.
What encouragement would you give anyone who is considering a career in the military?
You know what, to be perfectly honest, I would say it's a wonderful experience. I think it's something that a lot of people should consider, not just serving your country, but it also just teaches you so much about life in general. I mean, you learn to get along with people from all walks of life. You learn a skill set that other than the military you probably won't have, like firing a gun, just strategic operatives and things like that. So I would say definitely do it. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's something that a lot of people should do because it would actually give them probably a little bit more respect for the country, maybe respect for other people in general, and just the freedoms that we have.
Well, as we approach Veterans Day, what do you hope that all Americans will do to honor the men and women who served our country, not just on Veterans Day, but every day?
Across the board, not just the veterans, but people in general, just with the pandemic, just love. I mean, universal love. Take care of your country, take care of your family, take care of your friends, even take care of people that you don't know. There's a saying, I've heard people say, being your brother's keeper or your sister's keeper. We are to be keepers of each other to make sure we all have a better lifestyle, a better life in general. If you can do something for someone else, just do it.
So to go back a little bit, and we talk about this every week, to really understand who an artist is, we always like to kind of delve into their past a little bit and find out about influences. Tell me a bit about growing up in Monroe, Louisiana. What was life like there, and when did music find its way into your life?
You know what? I think music has always been a part of my life since I was a small girl, probably before I can walk. My mother used to always sing. She was actually a singer in the choir. I come from a whole host of family members that sing, from grandmother, grandfather, aunts and uncles. And actually it's on both sides of my family. So I think just growing up early on, and then not only that, having a couple of relatives in my lineage that actually were professional singers, I think that's played a part of it. And it's just always been something that I've loved. Growing up listening to Aretha Franklin, listening to Dolly Parton, Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, a lot of the Eagles, Alabama. So a lot of the old greats and what have you, it's just made a huge difference and influenced, I think, who I am and the passion that I have for music, and especially country music.
Who were some of those artists that you feel like had the biggest influence on your career, both as a performer and as a songwriter?
I would say Shania Twain would definitely be one. Just her style, her spunk, her personality, and just how she is as an individual. Patsy Cline, unfortunately, when I was born, she was already gone, but she's definitely still had a profound effect on my life when it comes to music. Just her sound and everything that she's done, and Dolly Parton, and just so many others. I just think that I look at them, even like a Kenny Rogers. George Jones. There's just so many. Waylon Jennings. There's just so many. I mean, I would be sitting here honestly forever. Mr. Charlie Pride. I mean, he had a great impact on my life that I even I did a tribute song, "Kiss an Angel Good Morning," one that it was his song, which went on to be #1 back then. So just a tribute to him. That in itself, I think, just says a lot. That just as a little girl, he just played a huge impact on my life growing up.
At what point did you get into singing and songwriting?
Actually, I think I've always been a writer. Initially, I think I started out when I was probably about 7 years old, writing short stories, writing poems, writing letters to God, and different things like that. And then eventually, as I started getting older, those poems eventually became songs. As for singing, I was probably about 7, but I didn't really find my voice until many, many years later as an adult, when I was actually comfortable with my sound and who I am as an artist. And I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of that came from just so many different great singers in my family that I just had to kind of find my way and find my own unique voice in the midst of all of that.
Is it something that you had much of a chance to work on during your time in the military?
Actually, strangely enough, no. During the time in the military, it was pretty much hoorah, I want to jump out of planes. And that was the focus when I was in the military. I was just so gung ho. And I just saw myself being in the military, actually retiring someday, from the military. But God had other plans for me. So singing and songwriting didn't necessarily come into play in my military days.
So we've been talking here for a little bit. I want to give people a sense of your music here. I've got the video queued up for the song "Here's to Nowhere," which was released earlier this year. Tell us a bit about this song.
Oh, "Here's to Nowhere." That literally is my town. If you listen to the lyrics, you listen to the story. That's how I grew up, where you just learn to be happy where you are. And I grew up in a one light town back in the day, and neighbors knew neighbors, your aunts, relatives, everyone kind of really, as I talked about earlier, being your brother's or sister's keeper. Everyone truly looked out for one another. And just being a kid, you definitely got to mind your elders, or you get in trouble later. And everyone knew who you were, and it just seemed like everyone gave people second chances and what have you, and they really looked out for other people. It was really family and neighborly things, where it's today, it's more like you better lock your doors. Sometimes people are afraid to say hello, and just "Here's to Nowhere" it goes back to, hey, just be happy where you are and where you've come from.
Let's have a look at this one now. Here is the video for "Here's to Nowhere."
Everybody's got them. Nobody wants to hit bottom and stay there. Everybody wants to go somewhere. Big bucks, corporate ladders, looking past everything that matters for a leg up. Won't take less than the good stuff. Makes me wanna raise my cup. Here's to nowhere. Well, I'm good right where I am, 'cause I got cold beer and the love of all my friends. I don't need the next best thing. My heart's where it's supposed to be. I'm fulfilled 'cause I'm already there. Here's to nowhere. for the one light town. There's not much going down, just the same old same. Well, everybody knows your name. Hello comes from the heart, a place where second chances are a way of life. Nobody gets left behind. I love this precious town of mine. Here's to nowhere. Well, I'm good right where I am, 'cause I got cold beer and the love of all my friends. Don't need the next best thing. My heart's where it's supposed to be. I'm fulfilled 'cause I'm already there. Here's to nowhere. Woo! Oh yeah! I'd rather be nowhere else on earth. I'd rather be. Feels like home to me. Feels like home to me. Everybody. Here's to nowhere. Well, I'm good right where I am, 'cause I got cold beer and the love of all my friends. Don't need the next best thing. My heart's where it's supposed to be. I'm fulfilled 'cause I'm already there. Here's to nowhere. Well, I'm good right where I am, 'cause I got cold beer and the love of all my friends. Don't need the next best thing. My heart's where it's supposed to be. I'm fulfilled 'cause I'm already there. Here's to nowhere.
We've got Monday afternoon and like Friday night around here. Good stuff.
Thank you.
So at the same time you're honing your musical craft, you also were pursuing another passion, which is education. You've got a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Louisiana at Monroe, a master's in international relations from Webster University, and a doctorate in theology from New Foundation Theological Seminary. Is there a parallel track to the music that you're preparing for, or were you looking for something else aside from music, or explain to me, what the thought process is there?
Honestly, when I pursued education, initially being a singer-songwriter, it wasn't, although it's something I dreamed of, when I was younger, it wasn't a career that I'd actually started really pursuing. It was probably in the midst of finishing up the doctorate that kind of teetered in and out of music for a while. But upon finishing up the doctorate, it was like, I know music is what I'm supposed to do. And God has always, you asked theology, God has always been a huge part of my life. And just kind of digging in a little bit deeper, just learning more about God and other ways to influence other people and actually help people by showing and doing good works.
So tell me about coming to Nashville. How soon after leaving the Army did you make that leap, and why did you go when you did?
It was a few years after the military. Right after the military, I actually did medical sales for a while, where I was actually in the operating room, actually training surgeons how to actually do a surgery. I sold actually a pacemaker for the brain that helped a lot of people that suffer from epilepsy and also from severe depression. And that was very fulfilling, but I knew that God was honestly calling me to do something else, and that was in music. So after I pursued a career in the medical field for a while, I just knew that my true calling was to do music. And if you want to do music, you got to go to where you need to go, and you need to be where you need to be. So I've just always been a believer of not sitting around waiting for something to happen, but it's up to us to take our career, our destiny in our own hands and move forward as God is leading us, and let the doors open.
Well, the Nashville experience is different for everybody. What has it been like for you?
It's been hard work. It seems like a big small town. Everyone that comes to town, everyone, whenever they come and visit, everyone wants to go to Broadway, and I'm like, no, there's so many other places to go other than down on Broadway. There's so many other places that's more known to the locals and what have you, so you can really get a real feel of the music community and the music scene in Nashville. But it's been great. There's nothing that I would honestly trade about moving to Nashville. I love the people, love the music. I love the career path that I'm on. So it's so been worth it. So, I mean, as with any and everything, there are good days and bad days, but I choose to celebrate the good versus the bad.
So when folks do come to town, where do you like to take them?
The local is one great place.
There you go.
There's a couple of places off of Music Row area. The Live Oak is another good place. There are a couple places over in East Nashville. So there are quite a few places. You can drive out to Franklin. Puckett's is always good. So there are quite a few places.
Shout out to Jeff at the local. They're one of them that's keeping the country for sure.
Yes.
Also, don't forget to check out the George Jones on 2nd Avenue North, our great sponsor. Make sure you get there. I tell you what, tell us, one of the ways you've really made your mark here in Nashville as a songwriter. Tell us about Brei Carter, the songwriter. And I've seen you described as smooth and edgy, and it just leaves me curious. Where do you find inspiration for your songwriting? Is it in relationships, or just the day-to-day life occurrences, or just from sitting back and observing life unfold?
Actually, it's a combination of all of them. Some stories are about my life. Some stories are about things that I've heard from friends or family members. And then some are things that I do observe. So every day with writing a song is going to be different. It all depends on the mood. And I happen to be a person that's more upbeat than the sad. So I typically don't live in those sad spots sometimes. It gets hard because sometimes when you teeter and you go down into those areas, it's a fine line between trying to get out the dark and reach back to the light. So I tend to try to stay to the happier side of songs, but at the same time, I want them to be songs that everyone can relate to, because the reality is that every day is not going to be, as they say, a bowl of Cheerios or smiles. You got to smile through the pain, but at the end of the day, you just have to keep pushing through whatever your situation.
In your opinion, what makes a memorable song?
It's a memorable song when other people can relate to it. I think so. That means a lot to me. When you actually tell a story and other people come to you and they're like, oh my goodness, that song really touched me. You just don't know how that's helped me get through so much in life. And then for me, just having my heartstrings tugged at when I hear a song, whether it's something happy or whether it's something sad. So I think it's different for everyone. But the great thing about music is that it truly is universal. There are no colors. There's no boundaries. There's no race. There's no economic status or anything. Music is music. Music just touches.
So we talk all the time on this show about it being a 10-year town. Where are you right now in that whole process, and what are some of the goals that you set for yourself?
10-year town. I would say I'm probably at year 4 in the town of Nashville, coming up on 4. For me, the goal is someday to walk across stage of the CMAs to win an award. That's been my life dream. I actually see myself wearing the dress, walking across stage. I would love to be a household name where I could be an influence on young men and women, kids, just to follow their dreams and to go forward, and just to see people as people, and let there be no hatred or anything like that. I just want my music to open people's eyes to look beyond what they see on the outside and look more on the inside.
Well, as we said earlier, the new single "Gave Him a Girl" is out now. Tell us a bit about the inspiration for this song.
Gave him a girl. That's actually my story as well. Actually, a really good friend of mine, she's an older lady, she's a mentor, and she called and we started talking one day because you never know when you're having these conversations with people in general, whether you know them or not, just something could be said that could trigger something. And she mentioned something about, well, Bree, I remember you mentioned something about, your dad wanted a boy or something like that, but your mom gave him a girl. And we started talking. It's like, that's a song. So I had a co-write coming up and they were like, so what are you thinking? I'm like, what about gave him a girl? And from there, we just took stories in my life. Like I grew up, I've skinned coons before, I've been fishing, catfish, largemouth bass, all of that. So I'm not opposed to getting dirty. I drive a Jeep, I drive a truck. I know how to change a tire. I was in the military, so I know how to fire a gun. I know how to be rough and tough and adventurous, but I know how to be a lady too. So it's just a combination of all of those things. So for me, Gave Him a Girl is like the female kind of anthem song that girls rock.
Now tell me about who appears in this video here.
In Gave Him a Girl, unfortunately, it's not actually my dad that's in the video. It's a close friend.
Okay.
Actually two friends. So they're friends that actually were in the video. And throughout the video, it's kind of like a progression. Supposedly it's me as a little girl as I'm coming up. So friends, kids, and things like that were actually in the video. So unfortunately, my dad wasn't able to come to be back in that video. So I had a friend actually play that role as a father.
Well, I tell you what, it turned out great. I want to share that with everybody now. This is the video for Gave Him a Girl.
On, rolled on, talked down to by the queen bee bully of the 5th grade. Always in my face, always something to say. There's only so much that a girl can take. She never saw it coming when I didn't back down. Right hook flying and she hit the ground. She should have known from my family name I ain't just a pretty face. I can pull a hook from a largemouth bass and skin a coon with my bare hands. Know my way to 4th gear on an old John Deere. Camel cap on these curls, a little tomboy in diamonds and pearls. Daddy wanted a boy, wanted a boy. Mama gave him a girl, gave him a girl, gave him a girl. Mama gave him a girl, gave him a girl, gave him a girl. Daddy made sure I can tear down, clean up a 30-06. Yeah, to this day I can handle her. Get a flat on my tread, yeah, I can turn a wrench. Change a muddy tire on a Wrangler. Mama might have made me wear pink. Daddy taught me how to drink. I can pull a hook from a largemouth bass, skin a coon with my bare hands. Know my way to 4th gear on an old John Deere. Camel cap on these curls, a little tomboy in diamonds and pearls. Daddy wanted a boy, wanted a boy. Mama gave him a girl, gave him a girl, gave him a girl. Spin a little Marvin Gaye and some Chardonnay while the cowgirl's taking me away. Mama kept the girl and me true. Oh, but daddy did too. My daddy did too. I can pull a hook from a largemouth bass, skin a coon with my bare hands. Know my way to 4th gear on an old John Deere. Camel cap on these curls, a little tomboy in diamonds and pearls. Daddy wanted a boy, wanted a boy. Yeah, they got the best of both worlds. Mama gave him a girl, gave him a girl, gave him a girl. Mama gave him a girl, gave him a girl, gave him a girl.
Excellent. And I know you're hitting your target demo here because I was watching the views, and as images of you holding an AR and riding a John Deere popped up, our views spiked. So I think we're on the right track there.
I like it. And actually that's at my home in Illinois. So that is actually home. That is actually our John Deere here at home.
So if you jumped on during all that, thank you so much for joining us. We're chatting with Brei Carter, singer-songwriter out of Nashville by way of Illinois and Monroe, Louisiana. So Brei, what's on the horizon for the rest of this year and on to 2022?
For the rest of the year, I have a couple of performances that'll be coming up. Still kind of working on those things. In addition to that, I'm going to be releasing some Christmas music in the upcoming weeks, just for that celebration. Can't wait for you guys to hear some of that. I also have a radio tour coming up where I'm going to go around to a couple of different stations from Kentucky, going to Tennessee, Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, Alabama for now. And we're going to try to schedule some more. So just to get out to some of the stations that are actually, thank God, playing my music. So just want to go and visit and meet some people.
Well, if you heard what you like today, make sure you reach out to your local radio station and ask them for Brei Carter. That's Brei Carter, and ask them for that music. And Brei, if folks want to follow your career, download your music, or keep tabs on your tour dates, where can they go to do that?
They can actually go to Bands in Town, or they can actually log on to my website. It's www.breicarter.com. That's BreiCarter.com. So BreiCarter.com. And then I'm on all the social media platforms as at Brei Carter.
Well, I tell you, as we wind down our time today here, what do you hope that people come away from this live stream today knowing about Brei Carter?
What I want people to know about today is that Brei Carter is just like you. I'm a lover of God. I'm a lover of nature. I'm a lover of people. I'm a lover of music. So we're all the same. And look for me because I want to do great things in this world through my music.
Well, that's excellent. And Brei, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us here on Inside Farm Life. And we'd love for you to come back anytime you've got some more of this new music to showcase.
I would love it. Thank you so much, Brent. I appreciate it. Hugs and kisses to everyone. And thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. It's been so much fun. And we want to thank you so much for joining us today and invite you to subscribe to the Inside Farm Life podcast, where each week we bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot button industry issues, educational features, and the best in true country music, just like our friend Brei Carter here. The Inside Farm Life podcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, Audible, Odyssey, and YouTube. We'd also love for you to check out our brand new website, FarmLifeMedia.com, which features the Inside Farm Life podcast, and soon will feature other podcasts. We also have live streams, educational blogs, and a 24/7 internet radio station, Farm Life Radio, which features traditional country music and some of our original content. The site also features a chat room to discuss ag topics and events, and a calendar that outlines some of the biggest events happening in American agriculture. Again, the place to find all of that is FarmLifeMedia.com. And we want to say a special thanks to our musical sponsor, the George Jones, 128 2nd Avenue North in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. They're a great gastropub, museum, and gift shop, and they do a great job of honoring the life of the possum. So next time you're in the Nashville area, make sure you stop by and tell them you heard it here on Inside Farm Life. And if you can't do that, make sure you go check them out at georgejones.com. We also want to say a special thank you to our additional sponsors, GoatLifeClothing.com, Concept Agritech, and Gateway Seed. Well, friends and neighbors, the clock on the wall tells us it's time to get on out of here. So until next time, it's Brent Adams. I hope you come back and join us next time you see us on here. For now, I'm out of here, and we would love for you to join us again and bring along a friend.
You've been listening to Inside Farm Life, a production of Farm Life Media. If you have topic suggestions for future episodes, drop us a line at brent@farmlifemedia.com. And be sure to check out our website, farmlifemedia.com.